What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for July 25th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. I think I figured out where I always mess up with the microphone when I come back, which is going to be key because this weekend we're going out to Pittsburgh, then Cleveland for my wife's family reunion. So I'll be recording from Pittsburgh Saturday morning, Cleveland on Sunday morning, and then we'll be back home on Monday. But I think I figured out the sound, so we should be good. All right, big show today, so let's get to it. First of all, it is Tuesday, so it's time for a little bit of motivation / positivity. And today I'm going back to the well, going back to that Kobe Bryant motivation TikTok. And like I said, I mean, a lot of this stuff when I share it with you are things that over the course of a couple weeks really have hit home with me. And this one really, with a lot of the stuff that's going on with my day job, a lot of the things I'm doing with the pods, trying to grow them, this really hit home. So this was after Kobe tore his Achilles late in his career. There was an interview with him and I don't know where they were. It must have been during the NBA Finals or something, but he was with Jimmy Kimmel and talked about and read a Facebook post that he made where he just had let his raw emotion out, where he was just cursing this and was feeling sorry for himself and feeling down. But then ultimately, it got to the point where he's like, okay, what am I going to do? Sit here and feel sorry for myself, or am I going to work hard? And got to basically, you allow yourself to vent and feel bad in the moment. And yes, that's a human emotion. Let that happen. But one of the things that we like to say at work, and I heard this at a training one time, is, you know what? Yeah, it sucks. When things don't go your way, it sucks. But a lot of times that's true, but useless information. But you can sit there and wallow in your self-pity, or you can say, okay, I got over it. I vented. Now, how am I going to solve this problem? So ultimately, Kobe, the moral of the story was he stopped feeling sorry for himself, found the silver lining in it, and then got back to work. And I really like this, what he said. We don't quit. We don't cower. We don't run. We endure and we conquer. And I love that. And again, I'm not saying don't feel down and let your real raw emotions out in the time. But don't dwell on them. Don't let them consume you. And like I said, it's true but useless information. Yeah, like shit doesn't go right at work sometimes, but guess what? Okay. And I get caught up in this a lot of times myself, and I got to remember, okay, nothing we can do about it. How are we going to move on and work within the parameters we're getting? And we don't cower. Excuse me. We don't quit. We don't cower. We don't run. We endure and we conquer. So if you go through your day thinking that, and just don't give up and make. Everybody always says, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Do the best with what you got, and those are the people that are successful. And if you're on TikTok, follow that. And I forget exactly what it's called. It's Kobe something. But I tend to find myself, because there's a lot of stuff going on at work, felt a certain type of way. I saw that, and it's boom. Like my focus is refocused, I guess you could say. All right. Quick housekeeping. Be sure to check out the new Back to the Future. We did an episode on the 01 through 06 Phillies and just why they could never get over that hump. So definitely check that out. Sticking with the Phillies, tough game last night. I mean, it was a great game, but it just, man, it's a shame they wasted Sanchez's gem. He went 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks. The Orioles are a very, very good team, though. I mean, with good pitching, too. But, man, Trey Turner he couldn't get out of his own way between errors and then got thrown out of the game. Bryce Harper, can't fault him for trying to. I mean, that took a perfect throw to get him at the plate there in the 8th. And the dude threw a perfect throw. I know some people were mad at Schwarber for missing that ball, but I mean, he did everything he could. That was not his fault. One, that ball was tailing toward a foul ball, and I mean, and had he Rob Thompson pinch ran Brandon Marsh at that time for Schwarber, Marsh probably catches that. So there's enough blame to go around. But again, it's the Orioles. They're the best team in the league as far as records. So no shame in that. But sometimes this team just does not play good fundamental baseball. And that's what it is. Like doing stupid shit like that. Like errors, and you can't, especially against a good team. You might be able to get away with that against the Nationals, but you can't do that against the Orioles, who have the best record in the league. So they're back at it today. I look for the Phils to win today. Tawan Walker's on the mound, who's been pretty good. So let's hope they get the win. Wanted to mention this because I didn't talk about it yesterday, but Scott Rowland over the weekend was inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. And I didn't mention it because everybody's like, oh, Scott Rowland, it's time to forgive and forget. No, like, he still was that dick who did not put he had to go in with a Cardinals hat on. He played for multiple teams. Fred McGriff did the same thing, went on with no cap because of all the teams he played for. No, Rowland had to put St. Louis, even though he played more in Philly. And to me, good riddance. I don't think they should be inducting him into the Wall of Fame at Citizens Bank Park. I think he's a borderline Hall of Famer, to be completely honest. So you know what? You want to go in with a St. Louis Cardinals hat? Great. You represent the old era of Phillies baseball. Had you held out for the opening of the new stadium, you could have been a part of a world championship possibly. And imagine, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a good player. But Hall of Fame worthy? Jimmy Rollins is more of a Hall of Famer than Scott Rowland, in my opinion. But listen, they could have had an infield of Rowland, Rollins, Utley, and Howard, because then you wouldn't have had to trade for Tomei, and you could have brought Ryan Howard up. But Scott Rowland whined his way out of town, and it is what it is. I know some people are like, forgive and forget. Hey, that's on you, but it shows the kind of person he is, that when you play for multiple teams, especially because he played longer in Philly than any other place, but he went in with a St. Louis Cardinals hat, so let the St. Louis Cardinals put him in their Wall of Fame. I will not be supporting that 100%. Okay, rant over. But if you want more coverage on the Phillies and more stories like that, check out our friends at 2008 Phils. They have the biggest Phillies email newsletter in the world. And right now, for a limited time, This Day in Philly Sports History listeners get 75% off a subscription. A subscription gets you access to everything they have on their site, including the archives, discussions. I told you, there's a lot of good content on there. You get that 2008 championship banner t-shirt. 2008 Phil's Twitter will follow your account to help grow your social media following. Get access to special tickets, autographs, memorabilia, those types of things. It's just $2 a month or $20 for the year. You can't beat that. Follow the link in the description. That link is exclusively for This Day in Philly Sports History listeners, so be sure to take advantage before it runs out. Like I said, definitely worth it. All right, so time for I need to have music when I transition like that. But the As the Harden Turns update, and there's a lot to dissect here on this one. It seems like there's something new every day. Maybe it's just because I've been following it closely, and all news stories or sports stories are like this. But there's a lot of rumors that just don't seem to be going away, that eventually Embiid will be traded to the Knicks, and the Knicks have been stockpiling draft picks. I mean, depending on what we can get, like draft pick wise from them for that, I don't know. I mean, we're going to be at a crossroads, so we'll see. I mean, right now they're just rumors, but I mean, they just won't go away. They've been hanging around for a year or two, so it's. I always say where there's smoke, there's fire, so we'll see. Few updates on the Harden situation. He was on an interview, I believe it was with USA Today, and they were talking about the Dame Lillard situation. And, I mean, he flat out said, he was like, I get both sides. He's like, you want to keep the player happy, especially somebody who did so much for your organization. And I think even he didn't really do much for the Sixers organizations per se, but he has that relationship with Daryl Morey. So I feel like he was sending a direct message to him. But he also said, I get it, that it's a business and you can't give a player away for nothing. So he sees both sides. And I don't know whether this was a PR move on his part to sort of soften the blow with six. Like, I'm not sure, but that's where he was. And then he was getting skewered for he was at a Bun B concert, and I forget the name of the burger place, but like he brought in a bunch of burgers that he was Bun B was promoting this burger place at a club or something. And of course, there was a picture of Harden carrying all these burgers, so he was getting ripped for that, which is kind of funny because he came in with the fat suit in Houston and all that. So we shall see what happens when Eagles training camp starts. All right, I told you we have a big show today. Eagles training camp starts today, and if you're like me, you're super pumped about it. It's one of those things that I was never, like, most people are like, oh no, the summer's ending, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I hate the hot weather. Give me the cool fall weather, football. So I'm excited for that. The Eagles players will report today. Two quick updates. And I'll never wish an injury on any player. C.J. Gardner-Johnson got hurt. It seemed like it was serious. He was carted off the field at Lions practice yesterday. Now the reports are saying that it might not be that serious. However, I can't help but just be like, you know what? Karma's a bitch. And just kind of leave it at that. And again, I'm not wishing an injury on anybody, but my wife and I talk about this all the time with different people in our families and friends and this and that. When bad things happen, it's kind of like, you know what? You reap what you sow. You live your life a certain way. You do certain things. Bad things are going to happen to you. As I always go back to Jim Schwartz when Nigel Bradham was getting in trouble, and he was like, you know what? You do dumbass things, people are going to think you're a dumbass. Well, this is karma catching you in the butt, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I wish you a speedy recovery because I don't wish an injury on anybody. But again, you do dumb things happen to you. And then the big story was just the disrespect or perceived disrespect of Jalen Hurts by the national media. And I don't know. And I mean, I'll get more into this probably as we go through training camp, but I mean, you got to do it again. If he comes out and does it again, like we talked about last week on our Tuesday motivation, make it so people look dumb for disrespecting you. Yeah, they look dumb now, but you know what? They have a point. Come out and do the same thing this year again, and then you become one of those elite players that consistently does it, then people will stop saying you're being disrespected. But I personally think he's the kind of player that's going to come out and, you know what? You want to disrespect me? That's fine. I'm just going to quietly do what I need to do. So training camp, way more on the Eagles as the summer progresses, but big day for me and for Eagles fans. And if you're anything like me, I realized that I put on a few pounds in the process of losing weight, but that means I need some new Eagles t-shirts. Well, go to phillygoat.com. They have so many Eagles t-shirts and so much of a selection that the biggest issue is going to be picking which one you want. Check them out. All your Eagles needs to get ready for the season, back to school shopping, get your kids shirts, your wife, birthday presents, whatever. Go to phillygoat.com. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Again, I need to start narrowing down my choices because right now I want one of everything. But go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. All right, today we are going to go back to 2015. And on this day, July 25th, 2015, the Phillies beat the Cubs 5-0 out at Wrigley Field. Ryan Howard went 2 for 4 with a homer and 3 RBIs. But the big story was what was expected to be and ultimately was Cole Hamels' final start as a Philly before the trade deadline. He was expected to be traded. He went out like a true champion, no-hit the Cubs, walked 2, had 13 strikeouts that day before he was ultimately traded to the Rangers. Hamels spent 10 years in Philly, 114 wins, a 3.3 ERA, 14 complete games, 7 shutouts, over 1,800 strikeouts. That one no-hitter, that great postseason run in 2008 where he was the NLCS and World Series MVP. Just to give you a sense of how good he was in that 2008 postseason, went 4-0 with a 1.8 ERA. Many kids in the Philadelphia area are named Cole due to him. He probably would have gone 5-0 had the umpires done the right thing in that first game, or Game 5 in the World Series. But on this day, back in 2015, Cole Hamels pitched his final start with the Phillies, no-hitting the Cubs, striking out 13, becoming a legend. And yes, this has turned into not only Eagles training camp, but Cole Hamels Appreciation Day. All right, time for Philly Sports Most Lovable Loser Tournament and an update. Sixers, no surprise here. The 2000-2001 Sixers move on to the regional final to take on the number 4 seed 1981-82 Sixers. They beat the 80-81 Sixers with 82% of the vote. They hands down, this was the most voted team so far in the tournament, was the 2000-2001 Sixers. All right, today we officially start the regional finals. So we go to the Eagles regional, and for a spot in our Final Four, we have the number 2 seed 2022 Eagles taking on the number 5 seed 2002 Eagles. Hands down, 2 of my top 3 most disappointing Eagles teams of all time. I don't know which way I would go, but how did we get here? The 2022 Eagles blew out the 2003 Eagles in the first round, and then pretty handily beat the 1980 Eagles in the second round. We all know what happened last year, 14-3. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts came into his own. He needs to do it again so he's not disrespected. But just a great team, fun ride. Should have ultimately won that Super Bowl against the Chiefs, but that's why they're the number 2 seed and the most disappointing Eagles team ever, or second most disappointing Eagles team ever. The 2002 team probably would have been ranked higher had I not put in, you had the Super Bowl runner-ups got the top seeds, but they got here by beating the 1947 team with 100% of the vote, and then won a squeaker against my other third disappointing team, the 88 Eagles, that Fog Bowl year. They had to go into a tiebreaker to beat them. But that 2002 team, that was the Tampa Bay year when Joe Jurevicius is probably still running down Broad Street. They went 12-4 that year. So now it's your turn. Who do you think would win? Who's your most disappointing team, the 2022 or the 2002? This is a tough one. I'll be honest, I don't know which way I'm going to go. If I had to pick right now before I had time to think about it, I'd probably slightly go with the 2002 team. But to make matters worse, when I played it out on What If Sports, 10 games, they each won 5, and the home teams dominated. So it depends on which field they're playing on. I should have probably put them on a neutral field for this one, but let me know what you think. Who wins, the 2022 Eagles or the 2002 Eagles? Who's disappointed you most? Who's had the most? Who would have won on the field? You tell me. Get the votes. Comment. If you're on Spotify, it will be in the poll section. Send me a text message, smoke signals. You can stop by my house, knock on my door, and leave me a note if you want. Put a sticky note on my door like UPS does. Whatever you have to do, let me know who you think wins. On this day, back in 2015, Cole Hamels pitched his final start and saved ultimately maybe his best for last as he no-hit the Cubs out in Wrigley Field before being traded to the Rangers. Eagles training camp starts. There's a ton of Embiid and Harden and Sixers news. My head is going to explode. We got so many good things coming up in the next few months. Anyway, it's a great time to be a This Day in Philly Sports History listener. Thank you for your support. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Remember, we don't quit, we don't cower, we don't run, we endure and we conquer just like Kobe. Go have yourselves a Tuesday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.